Good morning, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Welcome back and nice to have you here. So, as usual, I will read some news first, then I will share some videos at the end of the reading material. Welcome back again. Let's get started. Here are the news and the Concerned Citizens Media comment for March 5, 2021. Hashtag starving for justice continue for 36 days. Johar Muhammad, Bakala Garba, Hamza Borana and others are in a critical condition due to this continued hunger strikes. So keep your prayer for their safety and well-being, and keep on your resistance in all forms until freedom rings in that country. Oromo Federalist Congress Party, which is led by Dr. Merara Gudina, is systematically and illegally forced to boycott the upcoming Ethiopia's sixth national election. The party cited the imposed extensive pressure on its party's legitimate operations by the ruling Prosperity Party and the election board. Abiy Ahmed, in coordination with the federal police, local police, militia, and his election board, totally dismantled the Oromo Federalist Congress and Oromo Liberation Front parties. All their local, regional, and national offices have been shut down, and all their leaderships, members, and their supporters have been arrested, and they have been going through extensive injustice court system in that country. Oromo Liberation Front's fate will not be different from the Oromo Federalist Congress. It will be impossible for OLF to compete for political offices when its very existence is threatened by the ruling party and its election board. Oromo Prosperity Party, which is headed by Abiy Ahmed, will be the only one running in Oromia and win 100%. So they want to make sure they win 100% in Oromia by limiting these major political parties. Adwa Victory Day celebrated for 125th years in Addis Ababa and other parts of Ethiopia. This day is commemorated every year to highlight the Ethiopians' victory against the Italian invading forces at Adwa in the year 1896. It is a symbolic victory for all Africans. Liberia and Ethiopia are the only two African countries never been colonized by Europeans or others. However, the celebration in Addis Ababa is not revealing the unity the celebration was looking for. The current federal flags were rejected. The old Ethiopian flag, which has the green, yellow, and red colors, was flown in every corner by the participants. All the participants are organized against the Oromos, and Oromos' vision on the ownership of Finfinne, now is called Addis Ababa. Hateful expressions were also heard clearly against the Tigrayans. Ambasha Shagitwal in Amharic, which is in English, Ambasha is rotten. Ambasha is the common bread made by Tigrayans and used as a food consumption. On the country's unity and victory commemorating day, these uncontrolled and oriented or twisted participants were expressing anti-unity and hateful speech. Divisive and hateful expressions must be controlled if we are seeking a united, strong country that can serve all its citizens and defend itself from foreign enemies. So the celebration is a victory day for Ethiopians against the invading force from Italy. So that time all Europeans are running around to capture any country. So Italy attempted to capture Ethiopia, and the Ethiopians defeated in 1896, I think. So every year now Ethiopia celebrates the Victory Day. So this celebration also, especially the participants, have some hidden agenda, and talking about anti-Oromos, anti-Tigray message. So they got a hidden agenda they're supposed to celebrate the Victory Day for all Ethiopians. The message should be a uniting message for all Ethiopians, but so they have hidden agendas against Oromos, against Tigrayans, So that is not a good sign for the country already in a travel in so many directions. Sudan and Ethiopia signed a defense cooperation pact on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021. This agreement was signed in Khartoum, capital of Sudan, by Sudanese and Egyptian chiefs of staff. We thank our brothers from the Egyptian armed forces for their good intention, generous assistance, and their strong support to overcome the present difficulties. Sudanese Chief of Staff General Mohammed Othman al-Husseini told the signing ceremony. His Egyptian counterpart, General Mohammed Farid Hagazi, reassured the Sudanese in a clear language that Egypt will not hesitate to quickly come to Sudan's aid if needed. The resources, strong will, and resolve are there to implement what we have agreed on to counter any emergency situations, he said. Egypt is ready to meet Sudan's requests in all fields, including armament, joint training, technical support, and securing joint borders, he added. This agreement would be a threat for Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia, who has repeatedly ignored third parties' mediation on the Ethiopian-Sudan border conflict and on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GERD project. On a weekly briefing, Mr. Dina Mufti, Ethiopia's foreign ministry spokesperson, trashed the concerns about this deal by saying Sudan is a sovereign nation and it can sign a deal with whoever she wants. Mr. Dina also talked about rich and strong countries trying to control Ethiopia and ordering Ethiopia to end its relationship with China. However, he didn't mention the countries or the country by name. Anyway, Ethiopia is in the worst situation under Abiy Ahmed. The country is isolated globally due to numerous grave human rights violations, too many internal conflict, the command post in Oromo, Benishangul Gumuz, and other regions. Plus, its citizens have been subjected to uncontrollable life expenses, unemployment, very weak currency, and huge foreign debt. The country is crumbling in front of our eyes, and most Ethiopians, especially the Amaras, are afraid of challenging Abiy Ahmed or in demanding his resignation, thinking that they might lose their temporary victories or gains under Abiy Ahmed leadership. So, partial credit for this one is the nationalnews.com. So Sudan and Egypt signed a deal. It's a very serious deal. They, as expressed in the reading, they are ready to join force against Ethiopia. It's clear, even though Dina Mufti tried to, minimize it. Don't worry, Sudan is a sovereign nation, independent nation. They can, it can sign with whoever she want to make a deal. No, that is not the issue. This is a very serious issue in dealing with the border. How we're gonna deal with the border? How you gonna fill the water for the hydro dam project? This is all is on the table. It's more danger. Sudan is getting more help. So Ethiopia also, unless she look around for other friends, the country is in danger. That's why we say the leadership is a failure, and we need a replacement or a transitional government. We need to demand the resignation of Abiy Ahmed. He is not leading the country in the right direction. The country is isolated globally, and a border conflict with Sudan, Tigray war, Benishangul war, Oromo bloodshed, everywhere. And as you might see, you might saw in Addis Ababa celebration and other areas, no unity in the country. The Amaras are fighting for themselves, for their dynasty. Even they talk about Ethiopia. No, that is a cover-up. They want a strong Amara for Amaras. And I think like 2-3 days ago, they established one strong bank. They call it Amara Bank, and very strong. So the shareholders from all over the world, the Amara Bank, and that bank is, its 50% capacity will be in Addis Ababa, and the rest in Amara region and a little bit in other areas. So they are singing the song of Ethiopia, Ethiopia day and night, but they are rebuilding the Amaran Empire. So that is, that is the situation. That is the situations. When others try to do something in their ethnic name, the Amaras will use all the media they have and to attack these individuals. But they are doing for themselves. When the others do, they call them anti-Ethiopia, racist, trashing them. So that is a double standard must stop if they thinking, to keep the unity of the country. So that's the challenge, and Ethiopia is in the wrong direction. Even though they try to win this election, it doesn't make any sense. The country is isolated internally and externally. There's a lot of pressure because this guy is turned the direction against its own people. He should be removed. He is listening to Isaias Afewerki. That's not a good thing. I repeated my call so many times. That is a wrong direction. Dealing with Isaias Afewerki is a dictator who destroy all opposition parties, who doesn't have term limit, no constitutions, no freedom of speech. So we don't need that kind of leadership to deep rooted in Ethiopia. We have to act instead of obeying his order. It's surprising. Everyone is scared of him, and they are obeying his order. Even though he complained in the media like some ministers are not listening to him. That is fake. That is fake. Or everyone is under his phone call. The military, the federal police, the security, locals, everyone scared of him. Nobody is challenging him, and the country is heading into the direction, worst direction, crumbling. Okay. The Human Rights Watch blamed Eritrea for the atrocities and war crimes carried out in the Tigray region. Human Rights Watch also called for independent investigations into these matters without delay. Amnesty International released a similar report on Eritrean soldiers last time. So this is United Nations, the same expression. Human Rights Watch, the same thing. Amnesty International, all big global medias. They're talking about war crime, genocide, crime against humanity in Tigray region by Eritrean soldiers. So it is exposed. Everything is on the table now. So I don't think Abiy Ahmed will allow independent investigation. They're talking about their own independent investigation. It doesn't make sense. Who did the crime and who gonna investigate? They wanna investigate themselves. It doesn't work like that. We need independent from European or United Nations, they can send to verify all these claims. Already known through satellites and first-hand account, but we need more independent investigation to these crimes. Actually, the focus is on Tigray only, but Benishangul is the same thing. Oromia region is the same thing, even though they don't have attention on that. There's a lot of grave human rights violations happening in other regions. So we need some attention on the other areas. Oromo region and Benishangul especially. No mask in Texas and Mississippi. No face mask. The governors of these two Republican states removed the mandates for face mask and ordered all businesses to be open at 100% capacity. President Joe Biden and several medical experts oppose the easing of the restriction now. With the circulation of new COVID-19 strains in the country and with incomplete vaccination capacity, they warned not to abandon the preventive guidelines for COVID-19 until further notice from the nation's medical and political authorities. On Friday, the CDC director, CDC is like Center for Disease Control. So Rachel Walensky warned that progress in the United States against the virus was stalling. Things are tenuous. Now is not the time to relax restriction. So the CDC says something different, but the states, some states like Texas and Mississippi, they are, saying no, you don't have to put on face mask. You can open up 100%. So that's against the data or the credible evidence. So here is Concerned Citizens Media comment on this issue. If Texas and Mississippi's executive orders are not based on scientific evidence for lifting the restrictions on COVID-19, this decision could endanger the residents of these two states and all Americans living in other states. We already lost more than 500,000 Americans as a result of similar unwise and irresponsible practices during previous administration. The federal authority must follow these two states' decisions and their consequences seriously. If they are causing more illness and deaths in those two states and others, the federal restrictions must be reimposed for the safety and well-being of all Americans. So they have to follow them carefully. I know the federal government has more authority than the states, so they have to follow what the evidence on these two states. I know there is new strain of COVID-19 going around, spreading, so they have to see if this thing is zero on this state. Maybe it makes sense if they control those coming in. If they close their border, maybe it makes sense to abandon all these guidelines and restrictions. But if the border is open with other states and if the virus is still there, I don't think this is a good decision. But the Republicans are always, they think they have the power to do whatever they want to do. So Concerned Citizens Media is, raising the concern to see what are the evidences, what are the consequences of such kind of decisions in the future in those two states. Is the virus increasing? Is the death toll increasing? Illness increasing? Is it spreading to other states from Mississippi and Texas? If such uh, indications are documented with evidence, the federal government must use its authority to reimpose the restriction on these two states. So that is the reading part. That is the reading part. Excuse me. So thank you for sharing the time on that part. I have United Nations a briefing from United Nations, then a couple of other videos. That will be enough for today. Let's see now. Here we go. That's United Nations briefing. Let me see. Come on.
Pending issues. Until those other issues are resolved, we're not in a position to spend more donor money to rent a vessel or estimate a new timeline for the mission. Turning to Ethiopia, Mark Lowcock, the emergency relief coordinators, briefed the Security Council today, and I just want to say that access to he says that more actions are needed to scale up humanitarian deliveries. Mr. Lowcock pointed out that at least 4.5 million people in Tigray need assistance, according to official estimates. Many people in rural areas remain inaccessible, and food security is a major concern. Access to water, hygiene, sanitation services are largely disrupted across Tigray, increasing the risk of disease outbreaks, including waterborne diseases, measles, and COVID-19. Health officials are also disrupted. Health services are also disrupted, with only 22% of the 205 health facilities in Tigray being fully functional. Mr. Lowcock says that despite recent progress, much more needs to be done to get aid to people who need it throughout Tigray. He emphasized the need to dramatically scale up humanitarian assistance throughout the province by facilitating independent needs assessment, deploying humanitarian staff throughout the province, restoring of basic communications and banking services, and also called for increased and urgent funding for humanitarian operations. Also in Ethiopia, the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, stressed the urgent need for an objective, independent assessment of the facts on the ground in Tigray. She said she continues to receive deeply distressing reports of sexual, gender-based violence, extrajudicial killings, widespread destruction, and looting of public and private property by all parties. She stressed that there's also reports of continuing fighting in central Tigray. The High Commissioner noted that a preliminary analysis of the information received indicates that serious violations of international law, possibly amounting to war crimes and crimes against humanity, may have been committed by multiple actors in the conflict. These include the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, Eritrean Armed Forces, and the Amhara Regional Forces and affiliated militias. And a tragic...
Okay, that's United Nations briefing on Tigray region. So the situation is still dangerous. The war is still going on in central Tigray, even though Abiy Ahmed declared it's over long time ago. Now is what? Is it 4th month now? The war is still going on. It's not over. So the situation is tough. So the attention is mostly in the Tigray region. We need some attention in Oromia and the Benishangul zone. No attention is given so far. Let me see now.
Did you know you can go to libertymutual.com to customize your car insurance so you only pay for what you need?
Really? I didn't.
There you go.
Viewers, TDF supporters are sharing a video in which some ENDF soldiers can be seen walking in an unknown area. The video has not been geolocated so far. According to Tigray supporters, these soldiers shown in the video were taken prisoner by TDF, Tigray Defense Forces, but they were later released, viewers. I'll show you the video, viewers. In the video you can see that the soldiers are without shoes and they're not on duty. Something might have happened to them. Secondly, viewers, I did a video about a telephonic conversation between Mulugeta Gebrehivot Birhe, a Tigray leader, and Alex DeVol, a British researcher. In that interview, Gebrehivot Birhe had said that ENDF soldiers who were taken prisoner by TDF were later released because TDF did not have any arrangements to keep them imprisoned in some location. Watch the video, viewers. In the video you can clearly see some ENDF soldiers walking without shoes. Thank you for watching.
አንድ ቆይና ወደዚህ ግቡና እንዳይመስዋችሁ ማለት ነው። ስማ በአሪፍ ግቡ። ና ንገር ሰማኝ። በአሪፍ ግቡ፣ ይመቷችኋል። በአሪፍ ገብታችሁ ልብስ እናመጣለን እኛ። ይመቱሃል። በጣም መሯችኋል። በእናታችሁ ልብስ ቀይራችሁ ማሳመን እኮ ነው። እንደዚህ አንደኛ ነገር እንዴት መሰላችሁ? ለፖለቲካው አዳምጡኝ። ለፖለቲካው ራሱ ስማኝ፣ ለፖለቲካው ራሱ ምን መሰለ? ህዝቡ ሲያይ እንደዚህ ተማርከዋል ተብለው እንዴት ታሳያላችሁ ትባላላችሁ። ገብቷል? እያንዳንዳችን እንሰጣለን። በአሪፍ ግቡ። ወደ ዝም ብላችሁ መግቡ። አንድ ቦታ ላይ ኑ ና ወንድሜ እናሳያለሁ። እንሰጣችኋለን ልብስ። ምን እኛ ወንድሞቻችን አይደላችሁ እንዴ? እኛ ስትሞቱ ማየት አንፈልግም። ና በዚህ
I think that TPLF fighter speaking to the Ethiopian soldiers, just speaking on like really humanitarian expressions. He's willing to give them clothing so they can change their clothes and join the community, without any danger. They say, you guys are our friends, you are not our enemies. That's what he's talking about. Taking them to safety somewhere.
የትግራይ ህዝብ እኮ እንደዚህ አይነት እንትን የለውም። ምን እናንተ እኮ ወገን ናችሁ። ሄዱ እዛ ጋር ተደብቁና ከዚህ ካታዩ ልብስ አመጣለሁ አንዳንድ
telling them, Tigrayans are friendly, Tigrayans are not your enemy.
We're now hearing there are fatalities in that attack. People were killed. What are their nationality? What exactly was the role of that people? That we do not know, but there are reports of people being killed. As for that specific place,
this is talking about
base is a base in western Iraq in the Anbar province, hosting American and coalition and Iraqi forces. Who was exactly the target? We do not know. There's also no claim of responsibility, although the finger clearly points at Iraqi pro-Iranian militias. They've targeted this place before. This is the same place that was targeted just over a year ago. That was the Iranian retaliation against U.S. forces after the killing of Qasem Soleimani was also in that place. And the finger now points at pro-Iranian militias as well. There are many reasons for Iran to do that. First of all, let's remember, it was less than a week ago when the United States attacked pro-Iranian forces in Syria, but in eastern Syria, not far from this place, across the border in Syria. And let's remember, Iran is constantly having a campaign trying to basically expel the American forces from there. It would be a huge achievement for Iran to see the American forces out of this place. They're basically, the American presence there is preventing Iran from creating this much wanted corridor they want to create from Tehran through Baghdad into Syria, into Lebanon, basically from Tehran and to the Mediterranean. What's preventing them from doing that is exactly that American presence in Iraq. They clearly want to see the Americans out of there. That is why the usual suspect in this place, in this case, would be Iraqi militias, but the pro-Shia, pro-Iranian militias.
How many American troops are still based in the Gulf, in Iraq specifically, and then in the general area?
If we're speaking about Iraq, we're speaking of a few thousand, 3,000, 4,000 or so. Clearly not a large presence, and not all of them in this area. There are also some present in other areas in northern Iraq, where we also saw an attack against an American base not too long ago. There are still a number of American forces. During the days of Donald Trump, some of the American forces in the area were deployed back to the United States, but there's clearly still an American presence, not a big one, but one that clearly bothers Iran and its proxies in the area.
Okay, and last, really, just in a sentence, how is Biden looking to handle the troops there, sending more, bringing those back home, or leaving things as is?
Unclear yet. Let's remember, as of now, it's 3 a.m. in Washington, so no official American response there. Iran is clearly sending messages to America. Deal with us and deal with us now. We want the sanctions imposed by the Trump administration being taken away. Biden may want to focus in America first with the COVID pandemic in America. Tehran is sending messages all the time, and this could be one of them. Deal with us and do it now.
You need the food bunker. You have a busy life and are in need of something more convenient for storing food leftovers and other ingredients.
New tactics and new equipment for the protesters as the crackdown from Myanmar security forces escalates. But despite this, Wednesday's protests again turned deadly. With live ammunition being used along with rubber bullets and stun grenades, the protesters now wear helmets, use homemade shields, and even create smoke screens themselves to hide from snipers and gunmen. But when the smoke clears, the protest barriers, their line of defense, are gone. In Mandalay, a regular scene for gatherings during the month of protest, they have also increased their protection against the police and military. But even with the added measures, there's little they can do against live rounds. And in the southern city of Adwa, the red flag of Aung San Suu Kyi's NLD party was hoisted. Images of the military leader Min Aung Hlaing pasted on the ground. As the protests continued on Wednesday, ousted President Win Min will face 2 additional charges, his lawyer describing what it could mean.
Shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 3 years, or with fine, or with both.
Some feel that the charges against Win Min and Aung San Suu Kyi are trumped up, possibly to prevent them from ever returning to politics.
Despite Win Min being detained since 1 February, he's only now just had access to his lawyers, and his lawyers haven't even received a copy of the charge sheet or the case file. So these are fundamental fair trial right violations that are taking place on top of everything else.
So as the protesters continue their stand against the coup on the streets across Myanmar, their elected leaders are facing their own battle in a judicial system that appears to be working against them. Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera.
Okay, I think that's the end for the video. So that is the update on from United Nations, Myanmar protest, and the rocket attack on the U.S. base or the coalition base in Iraq, and the situation in Ethiopia, all the updates. So thank you for watching Concerned Citizens Media. Please share, like the video, and subscribe to my YouTube, so we can grow together and we can be the voice for the voiceless, so we can work together to spread freedom, justice, equality for all. Thank you again for your time. I will be back with other updates and the news. So let's keep the prayer for those Oromo political prisoners who are starving for justice. You know, they still refuse the food for freedom, for justice, for all Oromos, not for themselves. So keep in your prayer and keep your resistance in all forms, campaigning, donation, fundraising, whatever you can, until concrete change happens in that country. I don't think it's gonna happen. Abiy is ready to win and to destroy the country for the next 5 years. He is not rebuilding, he is destroying it. Yeah, he is not resigning like former Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn. That guy deserves some credit. When the thing didn't work, he gave up for the sake of the country. But this group is very dangerous group. They will use the last bullet before they resign. So we will see, we will follow, we will report to you. Thank you again. So long everyone, until next time.